You know about a miscarriage of justice and prison congestion. Are they twins? These are sore parts of our judicial system, but we still have hope that justice must prevail in the short or long run. A Lagos State High Court has ordered the release of an inmate, Maxwell Dele, who was tortured and detained for more than 11 years without trial. A group, Lawyers Without Borders in France, stated in a statement that the practice of charging suspects with serious offenses in order to have them remanded in prison indefinitely without prosecution needed to stop. So according to the country director of the group in Nigeria, Angela Uzoma-Iwuchukwu, the case of Dele, who was arbitrarily detained for more than 11 years, reflects both an overburdened justice system and structural problems between Nigeria's state and federal justice systems. Dele was arrested in place of a certain individual called James Idem, who police declared wanted for an armed robbery operation. Murphy's Law will say if anything can go wrong, it will go wrong.
Yes, this is more than something simply going wrong. I mean, it's a huge travesty. It's just unacceptable to keep a man in detention in lieu of someone else for upwards of 11 years. I mean, what could a man have done?
Both men are not related.
Even if they were related, you have no reason in the world to detain a man in place of another. Even if that person, even if the person who committed the offense is your offspring, there is no law by which you can be detained in place of that person and detained for that long.
11 years.
You know, sometimes they could just detain an individual in the hope that the person they are looking for will come forward, you know, and turn himself in. But 11 years, it just shows why we have so many people awaiting trial in our prisons. They do not allow even the innocent to go when they ought to be to actually be released. If you are investigating a crime, you detain people. Once the investigation is conducted, those who are free, because the police is allowed to arrest in the course of the investigation, those that you found not to be culpable should be released. If not for the chief judges of states who routinely go to the courts to free some of these inmates, we will have a much bigger problem on our hands. The statistics are just startling. More than 70% of people in our prisons are awaiting trial, or what we call the pre-trial detainees. And the prisons themselves are holding more than 37% more of more than their capacity.
Congestion is a major problem.
It's a big problem. I remember when Beko was being detained was in jail in Katsina. There was a man who for years not been able to appear in court. Why? When they want to bring him to court, it's either the Black Maria was not in good condition, or something will happen. So the man was in detention, and Beko, being the activist himself, he was serving his own term over the so-called 1995 coup. But he was angry enough to insist, while being an inmate, that that person should be brought before the court.
That's it.
Do you know that on the day they brought this man to court, he was freed? That's what Beko did. He probably saved a life. So these cases, I can't just imagine that someone will stay in 11 years in prison.
Waste 11 of his years.
Yes.
Nothing.
wasted
for a crime he never
he
committed.
didn't commit. Some people must have been even be executed in our country for crimes that they didn't commit.
Well, Wale, you know, it also tallies with the saying by the English dramatist James Shelley, there is no armor against fate. We talk about the criminal justice system in the country. Something has to be done.
I think just like Babajide has said, the case of Maxwell Dele is just a sign, it's a tip of the iceberg. I'm almost convinced there are people, based on what we are seeing, that even have spent more than 11 years who are still in prison. The Nigerian prison has capacity for 50,822 inmates. Whereas at now we have 70,056.
So like he said, call them correctional centers.
Yes, correctional centers. You know, so as he said, about 70% are awaiting trial. Only about 19,000 plus have been convicted. And you see, there are a lot of implications, even economically. Nigeria spends about 7.6 million feeding this people. Yes, in every year.
And this feeding questionable.
And then the other aspect is that there are a lot of people are exposed to mental illness. They're exposed to infectious diseases, you know, and then the trauma. This man that has spent 11 years in prison, you can imagine what his family will be thinking of him. You know, he just came back from prison. He has to start his life all over again. You know, he'll be isolated from the family. Will be, you know, he probably will not even be able to get a new job. And the person they were looking for, James Idem, was a suspect.
Yeah.
Not that they had any evidence that he was a criminal. So it tells you the class content of our laws. That even though we claim that we are equal before the law, some are more equal than others.
Yeah.
You know, when you arrest big men, 500 million, stealing 500 million, you say it's money laundering. When a poor man steals goat, you say it's thief.
Well, you should go to GRA. A poor man will.
You know, you go to GRA, people, rich men that are walking on the street, you say they are stealing. But if you go to Ajegule, you say they are, it's loitering. They are loitering about. So, we need to create a system where people will be seen to be equal before the law. This is a pathetic case, and I think it's also the need for the government to do auditing of our prison system. Yeah. They can set up a panel, go around, so that they can come up with a report, so that they can free many other Maxwell Dele that are in our prisons.
The name is correctional centers. At this point, you are wondering how much correction a man like Maxwell.
A man who spent 11 years in prison for a crime that he did not commit. You've taken his humanity away. You've taken it away completely. Look, that man cannot recover. I'm just saying the truth. Oh. He can't recover. Where does he begin to pick up the pieces of his life? How is he going to do that?
Oh, what can you
Once you've gone to prison, even if it's for a few days, you're already stigmatized. The society begins to see you as someone who they should not fraternize with, who they should not hang out with. And we know that these prisons here are not correctional in any form. People come out of prison to embrace crimes that they never committed even before going to prison, because they picked up all kinds of unworthy lessons
the likes of Maxwell would go into prison for doing nothing, knows nothing about a crime, but he gets introduced to crime there.
That is the point that I was making, that they go into prison to learn some ugly new things. Some of them come out of prison as sodomists, something they were not used to before they went to prison. Some of them join even bad company in prison.
Yeah.
Somebody who was detained maybe for loitering, he comes out of prison a hardened criminal, an armed robber. He becomes an armed robber because of the kind of friends he made while there. We've seen some people who were arrested who said that, look, they actually joined the robbery gang in prison. Yes. So once they are released, once they are unleashed to the society, you then see that side of them that the society never knew, because the prison system in our country, because it's congested, it's not fit for human habitation.
That's it.
It turns the regular detainee to a monster, a Frankenstein monster. Look at, if you pack more than enough people into this hall, into this studio, for example, people will feel uneasy. People will start wondering what's going on. Let me get out of here.
Yeah.
But we are talking about people who have to live with that for years. Years. In Lagos, as of June 2021, 8,000 people were detained in the prison here. 6,800 of those people detained were awaiting trial. So our prison is busting. Our prisons are busting at the seams with people who should not even be there in the first place. There ought to be a system that ensures that look,
that's it.
If you are awaiting trial, you should not stay too long in prison, because that turns you to a criminal.
Wale, we are in trouble. And I just hope that the legal system in this country will reinvent itself, because it cannot continue.
Yeah,
it cannot.